in the scorching deserts of northeastern Africa, the Old Kingdom of Egypt forged a civilization that would forever alter the course of human history. Its majestic pyramids and enigmatic pharaohs left an indelible mark on our collective heritage. Let us embark on a journey to unravel the secrets of this ancient world, where the sands of time whisper tales of a glory that will leave you breathless. The land itself, a tapestry woven from golden sands, rocky outcrops, and verdant oases, had been home to various cultures for millennia, each leaving behind their unique imprint on the region's history. It was amidst this backdrop, around 3100 BCE, that the process of unification began, laying the groundwork for the Old Kingdom of Egypt. The process of unification is often attributed to King Narmer, also known as King Manes, who is said to have unified Upper and Lower Egypt under one rule, creating the First Dynasty. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of the early dynastic period, a time of significant transformation and growth. The capital, Memphis, strategically located near modern-day Cairo, became the center of power, where the rulers of this newly formed state could oversee the fertile Nile Valley and the burgeoning cities that lined its banks. As the centuries passed, Egypt's rulers, now known as pharaohs, continued to consolidate their power, establish a robust administrative system, and foster a culture that was both deeply spiritual and intensely practical. The Second Dynasty saw the continuation of this process, with pharaohs like Khafre, who oversaw significant architectural projects, including the construction of temples and tombs that would eventually pave the way for the grandiose monuments of the Old Kingdom. The transition to the Third Dynasty marks a critical juncture in Egyptian history, often regarded as the beginning of the Old Kingdom. It was during this period, around 2650 BCE, that the pharaoh Djoser, with the ingenious aid of his vizier Imhotep, embarked on an architectural project that would redefine the funerary practices of Egyptian royalty and leave an indelible mark on the landscape. The construction of the step pyramid at Saqqara, a revolutionary design that evolved from the traditional mastaba tombs, signified not only the wealth and power of the pharaoh, but also the advanced engineering capabilities and architectural sophistication of the Egyptians. This monumental structure, with its 6 mastabas stacked upon one another, rose like a giant from the desert sands, a testament to the ingenuity and creativity of Imhotep, who would later be deified for his contributions to Egyptian medicine, architecture, and wisdom. The step pyramid complex, encompassing temples, courtyards, and chapels, was designed to serve as a venue for the pharaoh's Jubilee festivals, reinforcing his divine right to rule and ensuring his successful transition into the afterlife. As the Old Kingdom flourished under successive dynasties, the art of pyramid building continued to evolve, with each new structure surpassing its predecessors in scale and complexity. The reign of Sneferu, founder of the Fourth Dynasty, saw the construction of the bent pyramid at Dashur, an experiment in smooth-sided pyramid construction that, despite its initial flaws, paved the way for the masterpiece that would follow. These towering structures, with their precise geometry and colossal scale, stand as a testament to the advanced mathematical knowledge, organizational prowess, and sheer manpower that ancient Egyptian society could muster. In the shadow of these monumental constructions, Egyptian society continued to evolve, with a complex system of governance, a thriving economy based on agriculture and trade, and a rich cultural tapestry woven from myths, legends, and religious beliefs. The role of the pharaoh, as both a divine ruler and a living god, responsible for maintaining the balance and order of the universe, was central to Egyptian society, influencing every aspect of life, from the grandest architectural projects to the simplest rituals of everyday life. As the pyramids at Giza rose towards the desert skies, the society that built them continued to flourish, with a complex web of social hierarchies, economic systems, and cultural practices. At the apex of this society stood the pharaohs, whose divine authority was reinforced by the grandeur of their architectural projects. Khufu, the pharaoh who commissioned the Great Pyramid, is known to have maintained a strong and efficient administrative system, with a network of officials and priests responsible for overseeing the collection of taxes, the management of resources, and the upkeep of the religious cults. One of the most fascinating aspects of Old Kingdom society is the role of women, who, despite being largely excluded from positions of direct power, played a significant part in the economic and social life of ancient Egypt. The wives and daughters of pharaohs, as well as those of high-ranking officials, often held important roles in the management of estates, the supervision of domestic staff, and the upkeep of family tombs. Queen Herodotus, the mother of Khufu, is a notable example, with her lavish tomb at Giza providing a glimpse into the lives of the elite women of ancient Egypt. The economy of Old Kingdom Egypt was primarily based on agriculture, with the annual flooding of the Nile providing the fertile silt that made the desert land suitable for cultivation. The pharaohs and nobles owned large tracts of land, which were worked by peasants who were obligated to provide a portion of their crops as tax. Trade also played a significant role in the economy, with Egypt exchanging goods such as grain, linen, and papyrus for copper, timber, and other essential commodities with its neighbors in the Near East. As the Old Kingdom continued to prosper, the city of Memphis, located near modern-day Cairo, emerged as a major center of culture, learning, and politics. The Temple of Tita, the god of creation and craftsmanship, stood at the heart of the city, attracting scholars, priests, and artisans from all over Egypt. It was here that the famous wisdom texts, such as the Instructions of Ptahhotep, were composed, offering insights into the moral and philosophical values of ancient Egyptian society. The reign of Khafre, who succeeded Khufu as pharaoh, saw the construction of the Second Pyramid at Giza, as well as a number of other architectural projects, including the magnificent Sphinx, which stood guard over the pyramid complex. The Sphinx, with its enigmatic smile and imposing presence, has become one of the most iconic symbols of ancient Egypt, embodying the mystery and power of the pharaonic regime. As the years passed, the Old Kingdom continued to evolve, with successive pharaohs leaving their mark on the landscape, the culture, and the society of ancient Egypt. The reign of Menkaura, who built the Third Pyramid at Giza, saw a shift in the focus of Egyptian art and architecture, with a greater emphasis on the representation of the human form and the development of more naturalistic styles. The sculptures from this period, such as the magnificent statue of Menkaure and his queen, provide a glimpse into the artistic innovations that characterized the later years of the Old Kingdom. The pyramid builders of ancient Egypt were not only skilled architects and engineers, but also meticulous record keepers, leaving behind a wealth of documents that provide insights into their daily lives, their social structures, and their economic systems. The Abusir papyri, discovered in the early 20th century, offer a fascinating glimpse into the administrative practices of the Old Kingdom, with detailed accounts of the management of estates, the collection of taxes, and the organization of labor gangs. As the Old Kingdom reached its zenith, the pharaohs continued to push the boundaries of architectural innovation with the construction of temples, tombs, and other monumental structures that reflected their power, their wealth, and their divine authority. The Temple of the Sun God Ra at Abusir, built during the reign of Userkaf, is a notable example, with its innovative use of stone and its elaborate reliefs depicting the pharaoh in his role as intermediary between the gods and humanity. As the Old Kingdom reached its zenith, the pharaohs continued to push the boundaries of architectural innovation with the construction of temples, tombs, and other monumental structures that reflected their power, their wealth, and their divine authority. The Temple of the Sun God Ra at Abusir, built during the reign of Userkaf, is a notable example, with its innovative use of stone and its elaborate reliefs depicting the pharaoh in his role as intermediary between the gods and humanity. This temple, like many others from this period, was designed to serve as a center of worship and a symbol of the pharaoh's connection to the divine. One of the most significant architectural achievements of the Old Kingdom was the development of the pyramid complex at Saqqara, where the Step Pyramid of Djoser, built during the Third Dynasty, stood as a precursor to the Great Pyramids of Giza. The architect, Imhotep, who designed this innovative structure, was revered for his genius and deified after his death, becoming one of the few non-royal individuals to be worshipped as a god in ancient Egypt. His design for the Step Pyramid, with its 6 mastabas of decreasing size, created a sense of ascending tiers that seemed to bridge the gap between earth and heaven. The reign of Unas, who ruled during the 5th dynasty, saw the construction of another notable pyramid at Saqqara, which was adorned with some of the most exquisite examples of ancient Egyptian art. The pyramid texts, which were inscribed on the walls of the pyramid's chambers, provided a unique glimpse into the funerary rites and mythological beliefs of the Old Kingdom Egyptians. These texts, which were meant to guide the pharaoh through the afterlife, contained spells, prayers, and hymns that reflected the complex cosmology and theology of ancient Egypt. As the 5th dynasty drew to a close, the Old Kingdom entered a period of gradual decline, marked by a series of short-lived reigns and a decrease in the quality of architectural and artistic achievements. The pharaohs of the 6th dynasty, who ruled from Memphis, struggled to maintain control over the vast territory of Egypt as regional governors and nobles began to assert their independence. Despite this decline, the Old Kingdom continued to produce remarkable works of art, such as the magnificent limestone statues of the pharaohs Pepi I and Merenri I, which were discovered at Saqqara and showcased the technical skill and artistic flair of ancient Egyptian sculptors. The final years of the Old Kingdom saw a resurgence of interest in the cult of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, who was worshipped at Abydos and other centers throughout Egypt. The pharaohs of this period, such as Pepi II, who ruled for over 90 years, invested heavily in the construction of temples and tombs dedicated to Osiris, reflecting their desire to ensure a smooth transition into the afterlife. The tomb of Pepi II at Saqqara, with its elaborate reliefs and statues, provided a poignant reminder of the enduring power of ancient Egyptian art and architecture, even as the Old Kingdom itself was drawing to a close. As the Old Kingdom drew to a close, the 6th dynasty's struggles to maintain control over Egypt's vast territory became increasingly evident. Regional governors and nobles continued to assert their independence, further weakening the central government. One such governor, Anktifi, who ruled over the province of Mualla, left behind a remarkable autobiography that provides valuable insights into the politics and society of this period. His tomb, discovered at Mualla, contains vivid descriptions of his military campaigns and administrative achievements, showcasing the growing autonomy of regional leaders. Meanwhile, the cult of Osiris continued to gain popularity, with pharaohs like Pepi II investing heavily in the construction of temples and tombs dedicated to the god. The Temple of Osiris at Abydos, built during this period, featured elaborate reliefs and statues that reflected the pharaoh's desire to ensure a smooth transition into the afterlife. The tomb of Pepi II at Saqqara, with its intricate architecture and beautiful artwork, stood as a testament to the enduring power of ancient Egyptian art and architecture. As the 6th dynasty came to an end, Egypt entered a period of instability, marked by short-lived reigns and power struggles between various factions. The collapse of the Old Kingdom's administrative system led to a decline in the quality of architectural and artistic achievements as regional centers began to develop their own distinct styles. One notable exception to this trend was the city of Heracleopolis, which emerged as a major power center during this period. The rulers of Heracleopolis, who would eventually establish the 9th dynasty, invested heavily in the construction of temples and tombs, showcasing their wealth and influence. The tomb of King Kheti II, discovered at Saqqara, features remarkable examples of ancient Egyptian art, including intricate reliefs and statues that reflect the city's growing prosperity. As Egypt navigated this tumultuous period, the traditional social hierarchies began to break down. The emergence of new regional centers and the decline of the Old Kingdom's centralized authority created opportunities for individuals from humble backgrounds to rise to positions of power. His tomb, discovered at Saqqara, contains vivid descriptions of his life and career, providing valuable insights into the social dynamics of this period. As the 9th dynasty solidified its hold on Egypt, a new era of stability and cultural flourishing began to emerge. One of the most notable rulers of this period was King Kheti III, who oversaw a significant resurgence in the construction of temples and tombs. The tomb of King Kheti III himself, discovered at Saqqara, features intricate reliefs and statues that reflect the renewed emphasis on traditional Egyptian art and architecture. The king's reign also saw a renewed focus on the cult of Osiris, with the construction of new temples and shrines dedicated to the god. Meanwhile, the city of Heracleopolis continued to thrive as a major power center in Egypt. The rulers of the 9th dynasty invested heavily in the city's infrastructure, constructing new roads, canals, and public buildings. The city's prosperity is reflected in the numerous tombs and artifacts discovered there, including the tomb of a high-ranking official named Anktifi, who served under King Kheti III. Anktifi's tomb, features vivid descriptions of his life and career, providing valuable insights into the social dynamics of this period. As the 9th dynasty gave way to the 10th, Egypt continued to experience a period of relative stability and cultural flourishing. One of the most notable rulers of this period was King Khedi, who oversaw a significant expansion of Egypt's trade networks and diplomatic relations with neighboring kingdoms. The king's reign also saw a renewed emphasis on the cult of Re, with the construction of new temples and shrines dedicated to the sun god. The 10th dynasty also saw the rise of a number of prominent officials and nobles, who played important roles in shaping Egypt's politics and culture during this period. One such example is the vizier, Tefibi, who served under King Khedi and was responsible for overseeing the construction of several major architectural projects, including the Temple of Re at Heliopolis. Tefibi's tomb, discovered at Saqqara, features intricate reliefs and statues that reflect his high status and influence during this period. As the 10th dynasty drew to a close, Egypt entered a period of significant upheaval and transition. The kingdom was plagued by internal power struggles and external threats, including the rise of the Hyksos, a group of Semitic invaders who would eventually conquer much of Egypt. Despite these challenges, Egyptian culture continued to thrive, with the production of numerous works of art, literature, and architecture that reflect the kingdom's enduring vitality and creativity. The reign of King Menkaure, one of the last rulers of the 10th dynasty, is notable for its literary achievements, including the composition of a famous wisdom text known as the Instruction of Menkaure. This text provides valuable insights into the social and political dynamics of this period, offering advice on how to maintain order and stability in the face of chaos and uncertainty. The Instruction of Menkaure also reflects the king's deep concern with the cult of Osiris and his efforts to promote the worship of this god throughout Egypt. As the 10th dynasty drew to a close, the kingdom was indeed plagued by internal power struggles and external threats, including the rise of the Hyksos, who would eventually conquer much of Egypt. The weakened state of the Old Kingdom made it vulnerable to these invasions, and the period that followed is often referred to as the Second Intermediate Period. During this time, Egypt was divided into several smaller kingdoms, with the Hyksos controlling the northern part of the country from their capital at Avaris. One of the key figures of this period was King Neferhotep I, who ruled over Thebes and attempted to resist the Hyksos invasion. Although his efforts were ultimately unsuccessful, he is notable for being one of the first rulers to use the title King of Egypt in his inscriptions, highlighting the continued importance of Egyptian identity even in the face of foreign occupation. Neferhotep I's reign also saw a renewed emphasis on the cult of Amun, with the construction of several temples and shrines dedicated to this god. As the Hyksos continued to consolidate their power, they introduced new technologies and cultural practices to Egypt, including the use of chariots and the worship of Asian deities such as Baal and Astarte. However, they also adopted many Egyptian customs and traditions, including the use of hieroglyphic writing and the worship of Egyptian gods like Re and Osiris. This blending of cultures is reflected in the archaeological record, with many Hyksos sites containing a mix of Egyptian and Asian artifacts. The eventual expulsion of the Hyksos from Egypt is attributed to the Theban king Ahmose I, who launched a series of campaigns against the invaders and ultimately drove them out of the country. Ahmose's reign marked the beginning of the New Kingdom period, which saw a resurgence in Egyptian power and culture. Although the Old Kingdom had come to an end, its legacy continued to shape Egyptian society and politics for centuries to come. The last remnants of the Old Kingdom's administrative system were dismantled during the New Kingdom, as the new rulers established a more centralized and efficient bureaucracy. The city of Memphis, which had been the capital of the Old Kingdom, was eventually abandoned in favor of Thebes, which became the new center of power. However, many of the old traditions and customs continued to be observed, including the worship of the same gods and the use of similar artistic and architectural styles. As the New Kingdom reached its peak during the reigns of pharaohs like Hatshepsut and Thutmose III, Egypt's international influence expanded dramatically. The country established trade relationships with neighboring kingdoms and launched a series of military campaigns into Asia and Nubia. Although the Old Kingdom was gone, its legacy continued to shape Egyptian foreign policy and cultural exchange for centuries to come. The final archaeological remnants of the Old Kingdom can be found in the cemeteries and temples that dot the Egyptian landscape. At sites like Saqqara and Al-Busir, the ruins of ancient pyramids and tombs provide a glimpse into the lives and beliefs of the people who lived during this period. The discovery of artifacts like the Narmer Palette and the Step Pyramid has helped to shed light on the early history of Egypt, while the study of texts like the Palermo Stone has provided valuable insights into the administrative and economic systems of the Old Kingdom. As the centuries passed, the memory of the Old Kingdom began to fade, and its achievements were often attributed to later pharaohs or mythological figures. However, the legacy of this period continued to shape Egyptian culture and society, influencing everything from art and architecture to literature and religion. The pyramids, temples, and tombs that dot the Egyptian landscape stand as testaments to the ingenuity and determination of a people who dared to defy the desert sands and build a civilization that would endure for millennia. The legacy of Old Kingdom Egypt can be seen in the art, architecture, and culture of countless societies that followed, a reminder that even the most seemingly impermanent achievements can leave an indelible mark on the course of human history. Thank you for joining me throughout this historical journey. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.